Welcome to the Women in Industry podcast. My name is Kirsty Davies-Chinnock, and today I'm joined by Nikki Butlin, who's the Finance Director at ASC Metals. ASC Metals stock and supply a wide range of non-ferrous materials. They stock and supply aluminium, stainless steel, copper, brass and bronze to the engineering, manufacturing, construction, fabrication, shop fitting, sign making and other industries in Lincolnshire, Leicestershire, Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire and Yorkshire. As a long-established family stockholder, they pride themselves on excellent customer service, next-day delivery from stock, reliability and competitive pricing. Welcome, Nikki. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
And you're fairly new to ASC. You joined last year?
Last year in March, yes, yeah. But I'm actually celebrating my 30th year in business, which has hit me this year. I started at 15, 16. So yeah, so I've done 30 years in business.
And it's looking at your history on LinkedIn. I'm getting quite good at stalking people on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You've always been a numbers woman.
Yes, that's my core skill set, my core role that with every company that I've worked in. But I think I've always been able to have a general overview of a business. And I think if you start with the numbers always tell you a story. And you can see how a business is performing, where they need to improve, where the efficiencies need to improve. So I always start with that, and that's always been my skill set. But then I'll then kind of move on, and just by the nature of the roles that I've been in, I've never been in huge corporates wherever that's just purely what you do. So then I've done trade shows, I've done sales, I've done advertising, marketing. Part of my role here at ASD is the HR, so I look after the team. That's really important to me. So yes, always starts with the numbers for me, and cash is king. Always has been, always will be. So if you've got a hold and a handle on that, then you can have a bit of an overview of the rest of the company. And by having a good team around you, you can help them do their bits in sales, the operations. I've brought in IT systems before into companies to improve efficiencies. That's one of my big things as well, is making sure the systems flow and everything's efficient. You know, what can we do to improve? So yeah, kind of a handle on everything. I like to have an overview and the bigger picture of what's going on.
I think that's the difference between a finance director and an accountant. An accountant is purely based on, two and
The
two make
numbers.
four, whereas a
Yeah,
finance director has to have that overview.
yeah.
And do you find, having worked in sort of SMEs rather than big corporates, that the more you communicate with the team, the more you're open about the numbers, the better that they perform?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we've just started this year, actually. So, my first year here, excuse me, when I started in the March last year, by the end of April, I'd had one-to-ones with everybody in the team. We were 30 plus then, because I wanted to know who I was working with, what the skill sets were. I wanted to reassure them that I was here to help, not to hinder, or, that, it's a long-serving company. So sometimes it can unsettle people with a brand new person coming in and what's she here and what's she here to do. So I made sure I spoke to the team. And this year as well, we're having more meetings with our sales department, with our operations department, and being open and honest. There are, this is their company too. They have a vested interest in it. A lot of them have been here a long time. And some of the companies I worked in before, a lot of the people don't want to know what's going on. If you want, you try and explain to them why you've made a decision or something. And then a lot of them are coming to go, I'm not interested. That's your job. I just want to come in, do my job and go home again. So it was getting to learn the team, and actually by having conversations with them, they came to me and said, we don't know this stuff. It'd be handy if we knew it, if we knew what was going on. So we've started meetings this year, and everybody seems to be reveling in it. They're enjoying being part of a little bit of a part of the decision making and having a voice and an impact, because, it's not just myself and Richard running the company. Yes, that's what we're here to do. That's our roles and responsibilities, but they're a big part of it. Your team is one of your biggest assets. Yes, you need your customers. Yes, you need your good products, but without your team delivering, or selling or having those rapports with the customers, you haven't got a company anyway. So that's a really big thing for me.
One of the things I've noticed about ASC over the last few months is you've been much more active on LinkedIn and social media.
Yeah.
And you've sort of had photographers in for personal branding and everything like that. Is that part of the sort of change management that you're going through?
Yes, yeah. In previous roles, I mean, the last company I was at Captain Fawcett, which is the gentleman's grooming products company, very hot on social media. They had an in-house videographer, a full-time marketing department, which we don't have here. So I was aware that, how powerful that can be and how relatively inexpensive it can be to do it. We've spent very little on the marketing in the last few months. We've had photographs done and MailChimp we've joined up to as well. But with a little bit of time and effort, we've been able to implement, and I think we've got a good, you have to start somewhere, little acorns and so on, and build your following and so on. But everyone's got a phone now. You can take a picture, you can take a little mini video. We don't pretend to be experts in the field, but we're getting content out there and we're sharing what we do. I'm highlighting the team. Who are people speaking to when they phone up? Who's responsible for running the warehouse? Who are our drivers? How many vans have we got? I passed our vehicles coming into work one day, and they were all coming out in succession, all 7 of them. And I thought, wow, that's quite a sight to see. So we got it videoed and we put it out on LinkedIn. And it's just simple things like that that you can sometimes take for granted on a day-to-day basis when you're working in the company. And you don't realise sometimes that people don't know that out there. You have to tell them, you have to share it. We've had some fabulous customer testimonials, sharing what they do with the metals. We did one recently with a guy called James Sutton. He shared with us, he makes sculptures out of metal. We never knew that.
Yeah, I saw that one. I thought that was really, really impressive.
Yeah, and it's that's kind of thing, sharing that content. It's interesting, isn't it? It gets.
I think the metals industry, because the end use of anything that's sold, fabricated, polished, or whatever, is so diverse and it's so integral to everybody's day-to-day life.
Yes.
We sort of get lost in the background.
You do.
People look at the phone, they look at the car, they look at the hotel, they look at the aeroplane. They don't look at the components and
No.
all of the companies that are involved in it, and being able to share that, it gives the team a boost as well, because
Certainly
someone
does.
can go, I sold that, I made that.
Yeah, I've played a part in that, and I think that's really powerful. I mean, I can see out into our warehouse now, and you're probably the same. All you see every day is racks of stock and racks of metal, and that's all we see. So it was really interesting. And again, it just, there was no agenda, there was no you know, let's see what we can get. It was just put it out, let's share with us what happens to our metal. We're curious, what happens to our metal when it leaves the door, and these things. I've got another one to share soon as well. These things get coming in and go, wow, that's fabulous. Have a look at this team. This is what happened, when you're delivering or when you're loading the trucks up. This is what happens to it afterwards. So yeah, it's been, I love this bit as well, take it back, finance, my core role, working with the team, and then getting back into the marketing as well. It's been really exciting and joyous to see, and then see everybody here thrive on it as well. And I've even got our warehouse manager is doing me videos now as well. He keeps sending me stuff to go, can we use this? Can we use this? I go, yeah, it's great. So yeah, it's been, really good.
One of the things I find that works quite well, or that has a lot of commentary and shares, is when we do something wrong, and show it as it's wrong.
Yes.
We had a picture where we circle polished a sheet and one of the heads had failed, so you got this stripe down it. Obviously we caught it, we put it right, but yeah, something
because
wrong. It proves you're human as well.
you're human, and actually you have to be mindful with putting content out as well, that it's not just a bit boring. That truck post has had the biggest hits on it. Why? I don't know. It's just something different, isn't it? And yeah, we're all human. We all make mistakes, and actually, it's not all. Everybody. That's the thing about social media as well. Everybody's got this perfect life of, this is what's going on, and actually, it's not the case. So I think that's a good idea. I'll hopefully there's not too many of them this year, but if we get some, I'll pitch that idea as well. Thank you.
So you, as the finance director and HR lead, and all the other great things that you can do working in an SME where roles expand,
Yeah,
and you're not sort of kept in these little boxes, which
yeah,
for me is one of the best things about working in an
yeah,
SME.
yeah.
What's the most exciting aspect of your role?
Well, a couple of things. I love a good spreadsheet. Now I'm talking to the geeks here, and you mentioned about accountancy earlier. When I did my training, I trained in bookkeeping and the first levels of AAT and so on, and then it was progressing onwards. And it's like, actually, I don't want to be an accountant. I'm quite happy with the skill set I've got. That's given me a good grounding for the businesses that I work in. I've got no desire to be an accountant. I love doing the numbers on a day-to-day basis. So I love a good spreadsheet, and I love it even more when I've got multiple spreadsheets and they're all talking to each other. That's brilliant to me. So that one of the first things I did when I joined here was set up my cash flow spreadsheet and my sales, and it's the KPIs, having a handle on your numbers. So I've got all my systems set there. The other exciting bit, which is really what we were just talking about, is working with the team. And I've run my own business before. It's really lonely when you're running your own business. I really like, in my last role, I was kind of second in command to the business owner, and I'm the same here now with Richard, the MD. And I like that teamwork that you have. The responsibility is not all on your shoulders. You're doing it together. You're making decisions together, and then helping and supporting the team. And the great thing about ASC is that a lot of people here have been here 25, 30 years plus. Rachel, our longest serving member, probably started when Tony Hall began the business 36 years ago. So she's just celebrating, a long time in the business, which we've just highlighted on LinkedIn. That's great for me because I come in and it tells me something good about the company to start with, that they haven't got a high turnover in staff. That painted a really good picture for me when I first joined. So getting to know them all, and then I can bring my skill set to the table. I don't know a lot about metals, but they do. And when you combine our two skill sets or our complementary skill sets across the whole workforce, it's pretty powerful and pretty magical. So I see my role as an enhancement to their roles, because if they don't know quite how to make a decision, a bigger decision, I can bring my skill set to the table with my experience coupled with their metals knowledge, and we do it all together. So that's a really exciting thing. And when we have a win, or where something great happened, or we've got a new contract, or I thrive on that as well, helping and leading this, the great team that we've got here.
I mean, it's great that you've looking at sort of like a hybrid of experience and new ideas. One of the great things about any company is when you have longevity of staff,
Yeah.
like Rachel with 36 years. Hi, Rachel.
Yeah. And Mike's just behind her with 35.
Yeah, I think Mike started the year before I did.
Yeah, and he started in the warehouse, driving in the warehouse, and now he's sales manager. So that's great to see as well.
There's always not a downside, but there's always, when you've got longevity of people, you have to manage that we've always done it that way. Because, if people have done something for 30 years, changing it, even if everyone acknowledges that change is going to be great for the business and for them,
Yeah.
it's still difficult to implement because we're all human and you go into autopilot mode.
Yeah.
How do you work on the change management skills for things you're looking to work with the team and collaborate on?
Yeah, well, when I first joined, as I said, it was great to come in, and the company pretty much runs like clockwork on a day-to-day basis. Yes, there's always problems, there's always logistical supply chain problems and so on, but pretty much they all know what they're doing and they all do it really well. So there was no point me coming in trying to reinvent the wheel or change something that's not broken. That was never my intention. It was just to learn the industry, learn how the company ticked, and so on. The thing that I have been able to bring to the table, which having had conversations with them and saying, look, do you think this would be a good idea? We don't do much marketing. Do you think that would be a good idea? I think that would help the sales. It wouldn't cost us very much. We're bringing in a new piece of IT software this year. So I'm always having the conversations. It's not dictatorial and so, right, everybody, we're doing this. I've got this idea. I'm a director. This is what we're doing. that's not going to win any friends or, influence people, is it? So it's about talking to them, making suggestions. I've taken my time to sit back, get to know everybody, and see where the gaps are. And the thing with the longevity is that sometimes on the negative side, you can get set in your ways and you're not aware of the modernizations that are out there. You're not aware of the IT or the cloud-based systems that are there, or the marketing opportunities that are there as well. So I think that's what I've been able to bring. Everybody appears on board with it. We've got a new team member starting soon. So it's how you manage and lead. There's always ways of how to communicate things across. If there was a big resistance to something, I am new to the industry, and they told me it won't work, Nikki, because the industry won't take it. Okay, that's fine. All right, it's fine. It's conversational. It's integral and communicative of how we make those things going forward.
And that's the thing, you don't know what you don't know, either coming in new to the industry or as a long server who doesn't know those tools are out there for them to use. And that mixture, bringing the new ideas in, but working on the established, successful business and how the team do things can be quite powerful.
Exactly.
So you've been there just over 12 months now.
Yeah.
So so this year then, what are your most important goals to achieve?
It's getting there. I like my analogies as well. It's like a car, getting a car ready and serviced for its journey ahead. Sometimes you just have to stick it into the garage and have a look around the engine and make sure everything's working tip top. The sales is the fuel that's going in. Without the fuel, we're not going anywhere. And even if we've got the sales but the engine's not right, we're not going anywhere either. So this is where. So my focus this year is on the infrastructure. The team appear all happy with what they're doing and the communications and the meetings that we're having. So it's really making sure that we've got a core, solid structure, because I wasn't in metals during Brexit and COVID, but the company that I was working with at the time, was Captain Fawcett during COVID, and we were exporting, and Brexit, we were exporting most of our goods to Europe when Brexit hit, and then COVID, and our goods weren't coming overseas and so on. So that was a massive challenge, learning experience, and that makes me come out of that thinking, well, we can handle anything now. if you can get through those times and you can still be in business at the end of it, you can pretty much handle anything. So as you know, being a long-serving member in the metals industry, and what I've learned over the last year is that it's fluctuated a lot in the past 2 or 3 years as well. So there's been lots of changes to this industry. So my job is to make sure that the company's solid, stable, because none of us know what's around the corner, what could be happening next year that we've got to have to battle and challenge. So, making sure the cash flow is tight and strong, so that we're ready should anything come around the corner. If it doesn't, fantastic, and we could just carry on doing our roles and our jobs and serving our customers, which is what we're here to do. So, that's my focus this year. Solid team.
I think after last year we had so many crises, one after the other.
Yeah.
And I think, again, you're talking about cash flow. Those of us in in all industries, are following on from the financial crash in 2008. If you come through that, you learn your lessons. Which is why I think that whilst Brexit and COVID have caused lots of issues and problems for SMEs in the metals and manufacturing and engineering industries in the UK, we've got a high level of resilience, because it's like, oh look, another recession. I'll give it half an hour, there'll be another one round again.
And we've done it before, so we can do it again. And what did we do before? And now it feels like a relatively quiet period. There's no crises going on that I'm aware of, so that gives you time to take stock and make sure that nuts and bolts are in place and so on. But you've got to be ready, and that's the great thing about working with an SME. During COVID and furloughs and the lockdowns and so on, you would hear about the big corporations that, you know, they needed to have a board meeting of 20 people online to make a decision of what they were going to do with the company. Captain Fawcett that I worked with at the time, great, fabulous company. If you're ever near King's Lynn, pop in and see them, because it's a emporium of antiques and gentlemen's grooming products. So Richard Finney and I, the company owner, we were able to stick just the two of us on that day in March 2020 and go, right, what do we do? And we made some very quick decisions, and were very quick and swift, and we were on it kind of, you know, day and night, making sure, you know, we weren't gonna fail in this period, no way. So we did everything to get it through, and then we did, and they're really successful company, and they're doing fabulous funds as well. So yeah. Oh, my apologies.
That's okay. That's okay.
That's the boss ringing, by the way.
Oh, hi, Richard. So if you look back to sort of like a 15-year-old Nikki, bearing in mind you've been in business 30 years now, is this the career you thought you'd have?
No. When I was 15, none of it, probably, I don't know many people that get to this age and they were doing their career path. No, at 15, I was being trained up to take over the family business. My dad had started his double glazing company 5 years earlier. So he'd always been around business. He'd done very much the entrepreneur. He passed away sadly last year. My first business mentor, who taught me sales, taught me business, and was just you know, grafted from and self-made from nothing up until being a very successful businessman. So that's where I learned my trade, really, with working with him. So I was being trained to run the family business, and my husband, when I got married, came in, and then unfortunately we got divorced. So career paths take a different way. And actually, in hindsight, looking back now, I needed to go off and do my own thing. I don't think I would have been happy, you know, 30 years later doing in the same town, in the same business with the same people. I needed to go off and work with different people, work in different industries. I've worked abroad. I've done trade shows in India. I've travelled. I've run my own business. So I'm so happy that 30 years on and now working with this fabulous company where I can see myself living out, you know, working the rest of my career here. I've got no desire to change or move anywhere else now. That experience now sets me instead to run this business and help Richard run this business. And you know, it just kind of all culminates. That's not a plan. That's not something you plan and set out to do. It's just happened.
But the road takes you there.
Yes.
And I think it gives you the ability to cope with things. So to cope with joining a new business, sadly losing your father, and all of that resilience that you learn throughout your career as you grow.
Yeah.
So what's the best advice your dad ever gave you?
Well, he would always say, so when I've got a sister. So when we first started driving, she's 3 years younger than me. So at the age of 17, passed my test, and you're out driving. This was before the days of phones and sat navs and things like that. You had to have a paper map, showing my age now. He would say to us, you're never lost as long as you keep moving. And he was talking about the driving and the, you know, if you're sat in a place and you lost, if you just keep on moving, the roads will always take you somewhere. And actually now, and having lost him last year, and my daughter quotes that one now as well. It's kind of a bit of a metaphor for life, isn't it, as well? I mean, he was talking practically, he was a very practical man. But actually, if you use it for a metaphor for life, you keep on moving, you're never lost. And same for business. There's no standing still in business. You're either going forward or you're going backwards. You have to work just as hard just to stand still. So you just got to keep moving the whole time and progressing and learning. I'm always still learning new things, meeting new people. And that's exciting as well. You know, we're not the finished product, are we? We're just, you keep
You're
evolving.
never lost as long as you keep moving.
Yeah.
I think that's the title of your podcast.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Nikki, and wish you all the best with your new career in the metals industry.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Kirsty.